What if the key to fixing modern marketing isn't louder ads or bigger budgets, but simply listening to what people are already telling us they want? In this episode, I sit down with Phil Ohren, founder of Intender and one of Australia's leading thinkers in search and intent-based marketing. Phil's story starts well before Intender though. At just 14, while most kids were swapping MP3s and playing around on MySpace, Phil was already building websites, tinkering with Dreamweaver and cracking that code of SEO. That early curiosity turned into a lifelong obsession with understanding why people search, what they're really asking for, and how businesses can meet them in that exact moment of need. We dive into Phil's journey from paperboy to performance marketer, through global agency life at WPP, and into founding his own business built around a simple but powerful philosophy. Right person, right message, right time. Phil shares his candid insights on why he thinks most ads fail, what makes a truly useful ad, and how AI and tools like ChatGPT are reshaping the way people search, decide, and buy. If you've ever wondered why your marketing isn't cutting through, how to make your brand genuinely useful, or what the future of advertising looks like in an AI-driven world, this conversation is packed with wisdom, honesty, and a refreshing take on the industry. I loved it, and I know you will too. Let's get into it. Phil, welcome to the podcast.
How you going?
Very good. Thanks for joining me.
It's great to be here.
Now, when you were 14, most kids are running around trying to learn how to talk to girls, or maybe they're learning to download music. You were building websites and learning SEO. Why?
I think I had learned at a very young age that I needed to get my own money. Not to any discredit to my parents, they did an amazing job. My first job in media technically was, again, illegally at the age of 12 as a paperboy.
Why illegal?
Well, you had to be 13.
Risk taker from the very beginning.
The wage was criminal. And part of that job, I had to put in the inserts on a Saturday and Sunday into the papers, which kind of weirdly was a very, very stark kind of entry point into the repetition of a page and the consumption of media. Like looking back on it. And
were you looking at ads at that point?
I definitely was. There was one particular newspaper that was difficult to put ads in, and that was The Sun, because of what was on page 3. But that, again, as a 14-year-old boy, I kind of shifted into, I can't be riding my bike forever. I get hit by a car, and then basically I got quite curious with Dreamweaver and GeoCities, which was Yahoo's make your own website, MySpace, and I found myself making MySpace themes for a lot of people.
So hang on. You're obviously naturally just interested in this type of thing, but how did you connect the dots like money or other people want this and I'll do it for them?
I think word got around pretty quickly that I would design stuff. Yeah, the schoolyard, and then it started becoming, hey, my dad said, would you build a computer? Hey, my dad said, would you build the website? And I kind of really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed using Adobe Fireworks at the time, or Macromedia Fireworks, I think it was back then, and trying to get into the psyche of making it look good. I think CSS sprites was like my favorite thing I learned when I was about 14 or 15, because it transferred so well into what I had in my head and getting it onto a page that I was probably making 5 or 6 websites a year at that stage. And then something changed. The question stopped being about, will you make me a website? It was then, I can't find it on Google. And I'd already been, with this desire to try and get my own money, I had already started flipping phones on eBay. And I realized really early on that if I said a Sony Ericsson phone was not a Nokia 3210, that it would rank in eBay search engine for Nokia 3210. I was like, oh, well, this is pretty easy. And the more I lent into the keywords or the intent of the query, the more I started to realize, actually, this is pretty easy. And so conversations shifted from being, can you make a brochure for my business on a website, to I'm not finding it on Google for my name and I'm not finding it for my services. And that conversation was a real kind of it was a real itch I wanted to scratch. And from a natural curiosity perspective, I did lean into it thinking, yeah, why isn't it showing up? And things.
And back then, the internet looked very different. There was Google, of course, but Alta Vista,
Alta
Ask
Vista,
Jeeves.
Ask Jeeves, yeah, all of those ones.
So can you remember what were people using? Were they just using a bit of everything?
I would have said back then it was 65 to 70% Google at the time.
Sure.
Whereas nearly everyone's parents were on MSN search or Yahoo search at the time, because of the difficulties to change their browser, right? And this was at the time when my newspaper delivery would probably have 50 AOL CDs in there as well. And those things were heavy.
Yeah, in the little pocket.
And I think you would often ride around the street and you'd see a disc in the gutter and stuff like that. And so I think during that time, I didn't realize at the time what that war was about. And it was the war for the front page of your default browser.
Right. Which Google won.
And then very quickly, I think the challenge, like when I started joining the very early SEO communities, it was very much a hack it dark art. Some people still say it's a dark art. I don't necessarily agree with that anymore. But back then, it was as simple as call a spade and call it a shovel and call it a dirt remover and all those other things at the same time. And so my hyperactive neurospicy brain was loving this because I could very privately think left, right, up, down, and then come back to a client with an immediate solution and then see, to be honest, nearly instant gratification on the search results within a week.
Right. So when did your philosophy around the whole search engine and putting an ad or a product in front of a customer change to this intender based? And I guess for those playing at home, Phil owns an agency called Intender. So what's the Intender philosophy and when did that shift into that?
Yeah, okay. So I think to talk about Intender, I probably need to just give you some context as to why I had to create it.
Yeah.
And I think it's because having built so many websites, seen so many clients wanting to get more traffic, and it was always more. It was never enough. I started to realize that the right traffic was more important than the volume. And I started to notice that we have as people, marketers, and brands an extremely powerful gift in the form of search. I realized probably late teens to early 20s that this isn't just a search. This is someone telling me what they want. And when someone tells you what they want, 95% of the marketing is already done. And it's really hard to get a person to change. In fact, you can't change a person, right? I mean, you've only got to listen to like a Mel Robbins podcast and realize that it's your attitude that needs to change, not the person themselves. And I think when I looked at that kind of lens on search, it started to become really important to me, the psyche behind the query. So if someone's looking for the best 7-seat SUV and you're not the best, don't sweat it. Focus on being the best. And then that kind of gave rise to, in that example there, if you're not the best, but you still want the traffic, what are you doing at a business level to be the best? And so I think when working at WPP, at Mindshare, which is one of the world's biggest agencies, I jumped ship to them from a boutique performance agency, which was later sucked up by WPP, because I'd gone so deep into this road of understanding what people want and giving it to them in search that I had a pretty bad attitude towards brands and brand marketing. I was working on accounts like Unilever globally and sort of saying to myself, why are you on TV when, this person just wants antiperspirant without aluminium in it? You have that. So why do you need to tell everyone about that all the time?
Do you not believe in brand marketing?
Well, that's the thing. I think I jumped to Mindshare because I needed to get my ego in check. And a lot of the time my passion can be mistaken for arrogance. And I think going to Mindshare is exactly what I needed to truly be able to run a business called Intender, where the word intender basically means someone who is in market for something or is demonstrating that they are. And so if you're a low interest rate home loan intender, you're very different to someone who is a self-employed home loan intender.
Mm.
And I think getting into that almost one-to-one marketing is kind of what has been a dream and vision of mine, because I genuinely don't like ads. I know that is contentious given the industry I'm in, but it's more that the better follow-up question to ask me there is, well, why don't you like them?
Mm.
And it's not just me. It's a lot of us that don't like them. And I think the why behind it has always been, well, they're either irrelevant, they're too frequent, or they are not, I'm not at the right stage.
Mm.
There's a couple of others as well. But
Mm.
like, SurveyMonkey did a huge global ad study even very recently, and it was 8 out of 10 people just are not interested
Mm.
in what they're seeing.
I think we were sort of talking about this off camera earlier. My background's in TV ads.
Mhm.
I worked at regional TV ads, so this is really bottom of the barrel here.
No, not at all.
But honed the skill, and it was cool. But the ads were all, what you're saying there is just like yelling at the person basically to buy. I don't care if you're ready. I've got a rug and it's 70% off. Buy it now, and they're often yelling at them. That's an extreme version, but what have advertisers and marketers been getting wrong in that space?
I hate to pick on this brand, but it technically wasn't me. It was the Batuta Advocate that picked on this brand. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with the article that ran last year, but it was man buys koala mattress to stop ads.
Yeah.
And I think whilst there's an element of humor in there, the koala marketing team are amazing. Hell, I'd love to work with them. And I think they've done everything right from a funnel-based marketing perspective. But where it's becoming too much is the vast majority of our marketing spend and investment is on trying to reach those who are not actively an intender.
Mm.
And so the role of a TV ad and the role of mass medium was always to get attention. And I think the medium is right, but the conversation that is being used on that medium is not quite the right fit for people.
Mm.
And what I mean by that is, if I'm in the car and I all of a sudden hear an ad that goes, "Do you suffer from back pain?" You've just asked me a question, and in my head, I'm going to go, "No, I don't." So what are we doing now for the next 12 seconds?
Is it damaging to, just continually ask the wrong people those questions and put your brand in front of the wrong people over and over?
Brand psychology studies would probably say it depends. Like ultimately in their executive summary, I think it would say that. I think it can be damaging when you're saying the same thing, expecting a different outcome. And I say that back to my previous point of like, you can't change people, but yet the role of marketing is to change people's behavior.
Yeah.
And so there's an inherent kind of tension there from the get-go.
Mm.
But I think where marketing is becoming better now is we're starting to listen a bit more to what that person's situation is.
Mm. And
then I think that's kind of why, until recently, we've seen a dip in those big production TV ads. Like, I love them. I do like some of the entertaining ones, but it's very hard to remember the ones that I like against the ones that I don't.
Yeah. There's like UGC taking over almost from like, they would have spent so much on TV commercials, still do, but maybe not to the extent they used to.
So I think, like, do I hate ads? No, of course not. I don't like ads that missed the obvious based on where I was or what I was doing.
Mm.
And it's gotten to the point where intenders' visions to make advertising useful, not annoying, right? And so the challenge I have there is I still want advertising. I just want it to be useful and credible and friction removal rather than adding friction or adding frequency, which can more often than not lead to annoyance.
How do you make a useful ad?
Good question. I think you've got to work out where it's going to go first. The age-old saying of know your audience. I think we forget that as marketers when we're doing the brief. Now, a brand manager for a business is naturally going to have biases that are about the brand. And so I would urge anyone briefing a creative to truly ask, where are you going to put it first? Because the creative team would love to know that. They've got such great ideas about in situ behavior. And, you know, if I say to you, this ad is going to show on the Harbour Bridge on rainy days only, what are you going to do differently? You know, if it's a digital billboard, which just has like location based or sort of, sorry, not location based, but like weather dependency built into it, what are you going to do with that?
Put a big umbrella over the Sydney Harbour Bridge.
Totally. And I think one of my favorite digital ads at the moment, and its frequency has gotten to a point where I wouldn't say I'm fatiguing. I would say I am starting to, it's either starting to work on me or it's not. I believe it's for one of those mental health apps where instead of saying stuff to me, they sponsored silence. They gave me silence. And it's just a sound of pattering rain. Yeah, you interrupted my favorite podcast, but well done to you for not pissing me off when you do it. What also makes a good ad for me is, I think, levels. One of the things that keeps coming up year after year is people go, why are the ads always louder? Why are they always louder than the content? And I think on you know, especially on the Acast network, which again is a great inroad to a lot of podcasts without having to collaborate with the podcaster, the levels are always out by like 20 or 30%. And I don't have an answer to that. I don't know why that is. And yes, it could be a flick of the switch on the media provider themselves, but also the customer, the advertiser, has decided to run that with that level. And so making a useful ad to me comes down to like knowing where it's going to be, knowing ideally what stage, what type of intender they are. Are they active or are they future based? You know, are they currently in market for a home loan? And if the answer is I don't know, then to be honest, I think you've got to seriously consider whether you should just do a public service announcement type stuff and give something to the people who are not in market that shows that you're a good guy. Like, and I think, you know, currently we've got the new CommBank can advert with all the people driving in the desert. And what I took away from that was like, thanks, CommBank. You actually do want me to make a life that I am proud of. That's nice. Thank you. Am I going to switch bank tomorrow off the back of that? No. But did the advertising work? Yes, it did, because I now consider CommBank as being a little bit more human than I did before. But what was the cost per mindset shift for them? And was that the intention of the ad? I don't know. And that is, you know, I find more often than not, we've got this battle now between brand and performance. And the challenge is both do the same thing, but I think unconsciously. You could argue that me looking for home loans with X feature and stumbling across, which is a non-brand term, and then stumbling across CommBank, you could regard that as brand marketing because you changed my behavior from going, I didn't know I had a brand in mind, and now I do. But a lot of that kind of crossover is where I think the ads are getting annoying and not as useful, because often the call to action isn't suited to the context, right? You know, sometimes you see phone. You know, we used to see phone numbers on the end frame of a TV ad, and I ain't got time to remember that. And so the friction removal of that was to do, you know, word-based phone numbers, like 1300 call me or whatever. And a lot of the friction removal that we see is getting us into good spots. But with, you know, now that everyone knows how to use a QR code, it's not so much about getting them to the site. It's probably the psyche of the ad is the pitch and what is the best next step.
All right, a quick word from one of our sponsors and then we'll get right back to the show. Today's sponsor is, it's me, Tom from Raw Lens. At Raw Lens, we create impactful video and stills content that captivates your community. If you're a business, organization, or individual with a message to share, then let's chat. Book your free Creative Spark session today at rawlensmedia.com. Let's bring your vision to life. Okay, back to me in the show. I'm in the video world, and video, as we know, does well and is a format that can connect with an audience on a human level. What have you seen on your side of the fence with success with video? What's working, what's not?
I think video works is working best when it's a pitch, like an end-to-end kind of pitch. There's a fine line here,
What do you
though.
mean by that?
Like it's got the problem. It follows the hero's journey. Let's just say that.
Okay.
So there's a bit of pain, agitation in there,
Mm.
and that's a fine line between being affluent and also it's a fine line between being affluent but also coming across as a TV shopping network ad or an infomercial, right? And the one thing I remind myself when I see those kind of video ads is they must work because they're still coming out.
Yeah.
And
so that's about, yes, hero's journey, but you're telling, you're not selling. You're trying to give a bit of value.
I'd say,
like, here's a problem. I'm the hero.
Yeah.
I can solve it.
I think show don't tell. I think some of to say that I haven't found a good ad would be a lie. There's often social ads where I'm like, I'll comment and go, wow, that was an amazing ad. You nailed it. And
you'll comment?
Yeah, I would comment that. I would give credit where it's due. And I would say that because they need to know that they're on the right track. And some of the features that I would see in an ad that do that are, I don't feel condescended to, right? Which often that condescending voiceover tone seems to just be rife on TV ads, video, radio, whatever. We've always got that really overly happy person. And the cynic in me will be like, no one's that happy.
That could be the cynic Brit in you.
Yeah, it could be. It definitely is. It definitely is. It definitely is.
But that's an audience, isn't it?
It is. And I think, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. And often the tone of that voice makes me and a lot of people get irked very quickly because they're like, hold on a second. You don't even know what I'm going through right now. And you're talking to me like everything's okay and that everything's going to be better if I buy your product. Do one. People are just like, their guard goes up really quickly because it doesn't feel sympathetic. Whereas the ads that dive into the sympathetic and empathetic approach, I think they work really, really well because it's selling without selling.
Yeah.
And it's not even telling without telling. It's almost showing.
Is it making sure, like, as an advertiser or as a brand, you are being real from the outset?
Yeah.
There's everything that you're saying aligns with actually what you believe.
Yep, I think so.
Yeah, whenever we talk with clients, I try and get there as soon as possible. Like, okay, who are we talking to and who are we helping? And what you're saying, is that true?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Like, is that true? And then that's the best place to start.
I would say so as well. And our CMOs are getting the pressure from above to hit the targets that are not necessarily set by them, right? And I think some of the overindulgence and overreach of advertising is driven by that. It's not their fault. I'm not bagging marketers out. They're doing the best they can with what they've got. And I think to be, in order to be real in your ad, you first got to break it down into what's real for them. And I think that the ads or videos that make me feel awkward are more often not the ones that it was about them, not me. Imagine if an ad is just, you're at a party and everyone's just talking about themselves, like everybody. What are we doing here?
Yeah,
just bragging.
Yeah.
And so I think a video that can humanize by talking about my symptoms and the solutions that I need in my life, they're the ones that that hold attention because the attention is on me, not on you.
Yeah.
Now we're not. It's not like we're stupid. We know it's an ad, and we know there's loads of other people doing it. But I think if you bring it back down to basics, and I think I'll use automotive again because it's my go-to, is there's only going to be around 20 7-seat SUVs that are sold in this city this week. So why are we trying to reach everyone, tell them about them? Like, it's like you've already admitted to yourself that you're okay with 98% of people not caring. So we're in this situation where, regardless of format, whether it's video, image, text, or whatever, we still know that our ads are not getting the cut through we deserve. And it's purely down to supply and demand. And so all these advertisers are fighting over the 3% of people who are actually going to buy today. Yeah.
Why do you think this ad was so successful?
A bottle of milk, thanks.
Low fat, no fat, full cream, high calcium, high protein soy, light skim, omega-3,
High calcium with vitamin D and folate or extra dollop.
I just want milk that tastes like real milk.
This tastes like full cream milk. And only 2% fat.
Paul's Smarter White Milk. Tastes like full cream milk.
I love that ad. Why do you think that resonated and was so big in Australia? You know, everyone knows that ad.
I actually think so. Earlier, I said this. 3% of people are actually actively wanting to buy. That's something from the 50s, and actually hasn't really changed. I double checked it over and over again. But then there's 7% of people who are open to doing that, and then there's 30% of people who could be persuaded, and then there's 30% of people that think they're not interested, and then there's 30% of people that are definitely not interested. So if I look at the Paul's Milk ad, what I like about that is it called out, it self-deprecated themselves very early on by trying to sell the features and the dismay of the lady having to do that. Right. So her tone came through as frustrated. She didn't want to say it. She was like, oh, we know this milk intender. He's here. Maybe, based on his behavior, he wants non-homogenized. He wants omega-3. He wants all those things. So she just reeled it all off. And he was just like stunned because, yeah, you're right. I am a milk intender, but I just wanted milk that was normal milk, really. Right.
Just want milk that tastes like real milk.
So it's a blessing and a curse to have the opportunity to have one-to-one conversations because in some cases they're not wanted either. And so I'm not sitting here today saying everything's got to get granular or everything's got to be whitewashed. The challenge is we don't know what someone's preference is or what their behavior change is. And even if they did, how would you feel would you feel obligated to that brand if they'd gone through that effort? Do you feel like it was your decision or was it the marketer's decision? I think in a world where we're looking at customer lifetime value and the cost to get a new customer in the first time and avoid paying for them again and again and again to re-engage, the Paul's ad was strong because not only did it brought us both down to the same level as each other. It's like, wow, Paul's listened. I can tell those, that creative direction could have come from the farm itself. And I hope it did. But it was finessed by the creative director and it was placed well in media that it wasn't quite annoying because of the brutal truth and the entertainmentness of that.
Great acting. Yeah. Great delivery.
Great delivery.
But a great concept.
And the bloke in it, he's sort of like, I forgive you for being so direct, but let me just help you out here. I just want normal milk. You're all good. It's like when you go into a car dealership and you already know the color, you've already done all your research. The conversation these days at a dealership is a lot shorter and to the point than it used to be. And that's because the 200 odd questions I would have took to the dealership 15 years ago, I've already done.
That's an interesting concept, like that image of the car salesman from way back when, trying to sell, try this with all the features. You already know. Yeah. You already know what you want. Yeah. And you already know about the features probably.
And those car dealers really earned their delivery fee, like in the old days.
Yeah.
And now I think it's quite a broken model. And that's why we see car dealers like Toyota, and now it's more of a retail kind of approach.
Yeah. Tesla's just buy it online, don't you?
Totally. And the problem with Tesla as well is like they are the antichrist because they are the only car brand that hasn't spent $1 on paid media. And so if you're ever sitting there thinking, why are they copying it in media? It's because the media owe them nothing. And so it's easy to throw them under the bus because they're not beholden to speak nicely about their client.
Yes.
So you're never going to hear a huge publication bagging out one of their, Ford or Holden.
Yeah.
But, when they closed their plants, they had, they did have a bit of fun with that.
Yeah.
But they don't bite the hand that feeds, which is quite ironic. So it's a side chat there.
No, I love that. Well, another example, let's say you've got a client in solar and they come to you and the audience for solar must be massive. Solar panels on the roof of your house. I imagine a lot of people could see appeal in that. Why don't you just advertise to everyone? Why don't you just throw a big net out and go, solar panels on your roof now, buy now. They're great. Save you money.
So why don't we advertise to everyone? I think why I personally don't is just because you can doesn't mean you should. And that principle for me as almost a value really is what's the next? I need more questions answered before I even think about doing something so with so much responsibility, put it that way, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, there's around 3 million solar digital behaviors per month. But when you come back down to actual solar intenders who intend on buying a system, it drops very quickly from like 3 million to 200,000.
Sorry if this is a dumb question, but how do you work that out? How do you know that they are ready to buy? Like,
Well, I
what
think-
behaviors show you that?
Good question, Tom. And the answers are looking at the public data that's available. So if you go into the psyche of a search keyword and someone's just looking at the keyword, should I get solar versus what is solar? Which one of those two intents do you think is more primed? Should I get solar? What is solar?
What is yeah? Should I get solar?
Yeah. So like the should I get solar volume is significantly smaller
Yeah.
than the people who, could be kids just researching what it is. Like, the psyche of that intent there is how we start to like pull apart how many people are actually actively in market. There's a few ways of doing that. There's tools that you can get like around search data, and then traditional media companies would be like they would look at their market intelligence data from, your PwCs, but then they would also do surveys.
Yeah.
Right, to find out how many people are actively in market. And again, you only actually need 100 responses for it to be statistically relevant.
Oh.
And I think the difference between survey-based data and big data that I like to go in is I can see tens of thousands, if not millions of searches. The challenge there is it's overwhelming. And so the opportunity there is how do you break down the intent? So say you've got a list of 2,000 solar keywords. You can start to, even before GPT, we could very quickly filter and understand the signals in the query, such as question-based terms: what, why, how, where, when, where. Show me every one of the words in there and their search volume for anything that included those. And so,
and how educated they are already on the
Yeah.
subject, and how much.
You can see some stupid questions being asked, and so there's an opportunity as a performance marketer to go, well, do I want that person? Yes or no? And if the answer is yes, well, what am I going to say? The challenge with that is you can't do that for every single search as a human being. You've got to have a system and a process and inventory management and a website that is built for that. And so the first question you've got to look at is like, well, how many people are actually really in there? And I think in automotive, you can go to VFAX. VFAX will show you how many cars were sold this month and where they were registered. Like, there's ways of getting that information. Once you've got that information, then that's when you've got to look at the population and that huge volume of people through to the actual people who are really going to come in. Because I bet most of the targets our CMOs have got are to lift by X percent. And therefore, if you know that, you can reverse engineer back how many new customers you need, which is often what is in the brief. We need 100 new customers that are this, which is fine. But I think you then need to you need to flip that around and go, well, those 100 people are X intenders. So how many of those are there? For a recent brand, like automotive, they said they only wanted 10,000 leads. So I was like, great, we only need to find 10,000 intenders. So the difference of the team even my team had anxiety about, well, where do we find these people that want to buy this very particularly weird car? It's not particularly, you don't look at it and you can't see it. You might not necessarily see it doing well in Queensland, for example, which is kind of a clue to its type. But like where...
Not a full drive?
Not an internal combustion engine. Let's just say that.
Okay.
All right. So, and so, yeah, when I looked at EV category as a whole, I was like, okay, 10,000 leads. If we had if I can find really good quality people, all I've got to do is show them and get them to do something that is aligned to making their life more useful or, improving the problem that they had. And so when I looked at how many people were in market for this particular type of EV, excluding brand competitors, 36,000 people a month on search. Now, that doesn't mean we only need to do Google Ads. No, absolutely not. That's one component of the plan. But we needed a message and video creative that would be aligned to that. And we needed to understand the psyche behind those 35,000 searches and break that down into clusters so that those clusters can give us better media direction in terms of partners and publishers, better creative direction to our creative partner who needed to make granular stories around these little intents, and then still have some sort of evergreen overarching horizontal message for things like the second or third interaction. And so we quickly used that data to remove the anxiety of the fact that, there's 28 million people here and the vast majority of them are quite happy with the car they've got. We don't, questions around the planning side of things there, where the client doesn't have the budget for this though. There was a lot of anxiety from my team around they don't have the budget. And it's not the budget that they needed. They needed the accuracy. And I think when we looked at the budget and, it was in the 7 figures, but it wasn't particularly high 7 figures for what the product was. And so as a result, quantity of reach was out the window immediately because they couldn't afford it. Yet the brief had a fame-related KPIs, which is like, brand preference, that they remembered you,
right,
and things like that. But I think we challenged them on that because there was already more than enough people who were already near the hook. They were in that 7% of open to buy that I mentioned earlier. How do we get them into the 3%? They just want an EV that tastes like a real EV, right?
It's just that sounds like a real EV. Have you had enough data to see?
You don't eat your EVs? No.
What's that, sorry?
You don't eat batteries and eat your EVs?
No, not usually. How do you know if it worked? Have you got enough data yet?
Nah, definitely not.
Okay, early days. What's that feeling like when you do get the data back and you're like, that worked. That worked as intended. Pun intended.
It's thank you. It's quite cool because it's not a fame thing. It's like seeing a client.
You put it on LinkedIn, don't you? Surely. I don't know.
Yeah. When I say it's not a fame thing, I mean it's not those. Sorry. How does it feel like when we nail it? It's not as big as you think. It's not like winning a Logie or a Cannes Lion for it. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of glamour in truth, to be honest with you. And where the glamour really is and the dopamine release is for the team is seeing someone come in on a keyword and spend 5 minutes on the site and purchasing. You're like, wow, we did it. And then the client's like, wow, sales are up 30%, but the traffic's down. Yeah, the traffic's down because we removed all the noise. So then you're at this kind of area where do you want to be famous or do you want to be useful? It's very hard to be both.
Yes.
Which is why there's still a brand door and a performance door.
Yeah. You just made me think of like influencers or Instagram followers. Like, yes, a lot of followers, but what does that mean? What does that even mean? It's a lot of the times it's useless, right? Or it can be useless.
I mean, it's being commoditized, that's for sure. That I've got loads of followers, therefore you should advertise with me. Is enough of a conversation to have had the industry growth that we've seen and that style of market, right?
Yeah.
But it takes me back to sort of 2007 when the like button came out. No, not 2007, 2011, I would say, actually, when the like button came out and everybody was scrambling to work out, A, who owns social? Is it PR, creative, or media? Or is it the brand? And then B, what's the value of a like? And I think you've just made me think and remember of that. And the answer was, we don't know. And we still don't know the value of a like.
Yeah.
Now, what I would be more interested in making advertising useful is instead of guessing, why don't we just ask them? Why don't we ask the person the right open-ended question and let them choose for themselves? Are you like, and again, we see this sometimes. Are you in market for a car? No. Okay, cool. Go down this route. We'll leave you alone. Like, yes, I'm willing to buy in the next 6 months. Okay, cool. Now this person's someone we should be very careful with and be polite with moving forward. And I'm starting to see more brands now want to give it a go of asking a question. And ideally what we're doing when we're asking a question is instead of having first-party data, second-party data, or third-party data from Facebook, we're getting zero-party data where the consumer intender is telling us what they want. I would love there to be a world where instead of any ads, I'm sorry, Tom, I know it's a bit intense. Instead of there being any ads,
We don't make ads.
Yeah.
But we help people understand things.
Yeah, cool, good, and which is great. Which is great. I love that. If you think about marketing as a game of Where's Wallo, like we're trying to find that one dude in that picture in that
hard.
mess, right?
That's
That is marketing.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
And I think instead of talking to everybody, it's like how if you ask the smart question is how can I make Wally come to me? That's real marketing for me. Paid media is a shortcut to attention, and that attention is being butchered because it's not permission based. So I think the real art of doing intent based marketing and interest based marketing is to try and focus on the quality, not the quantity, and ask the question, which is the elephant in the room. Like, what would make you consider buying with us?
Yeah.
And so, go on.
I was just like the old style of marketing was like, if it's a no, I heard this once, you're just getting closer to a yes. Or you're like just getting closer to the sale. No, I don't want this. Okay. Why? Why don't you want it? Oh, more information.
So
anyway,
the way I've built on that though is instead of trying to ask them that question in the ad, like, do you suffer from back pain? Again, which was I see the intention, I see the warmth of intent there, but it wasn't the right time to ask me that question, or maybe it was, it would be the right time to ask me if I had back pain, which 10% of the people might have on that, hearing that ad in the car, but where it falls short is you can't triage the customer in the ad. So if you can't triage them on the ad and you need to talk to them both interactively on the website or on the phone, the question really is, how do I get people to want to tell me what is wrong so that I can help them? And so lovely brand we work with called Biology, very good skin, very natural. You can literally eat it. It's that good. The vitamin C one's amazing. It's so good. We help, selling skincare online without the behavior you would get in Maya, very, very difficult, right? And so if that's the case and that's not changing, we need to change. And so Biology agreed to try a quiz-based approach where the smarter the question, the better the answer. And at the end of this 5-minute quiz, you just know what kind of skin type you've got and what your skin concern really is.
Okay. Yeah.
And I say the word skin concern because that yet hasn't been solved. But guess what will solve that? The products. So instead of trying to have a cost per sale for the product itself on its own, we're now having a cost per quiz completion. Okay. Which is a lot easier. There's a lot less friction in getting someone to educate themselves and get the answers without an email address. Yeah. Right. Then and you see a lot of quizzes as well, especially things like ADHD tests. They're everywhere all the time. Or maybe just me.
Must do it. Must complete.
But like even those, you get to the end and like give us your email address for the results. Like, come on, even that's annoying. And it's annoying because now there's a list being sold around the web with here's all the people with ADHD. Here's their emails, right? And so I think users are scared of that. So even if you triage, you've got to be respectful in what it is you're asking. Yeah. And so, I think triage style marketing is kind of where I like to see paid media being used. Like, and if it's right, solution-based marketing in there too. But for example, if you're watching Lego Masters on 9 catch-up, you'd expect more toy-related ads, but weirdly, there's not. And you can just sort of tell them that
it's up too late for kids.
Not on catch-up, right? When I'm watching it at 4 o'clock, why isn't there more appropriate stuff? The logic there between the ad being served to my home IP address onto a device that is not logged in, but is logged in for Channel 9, but doesn't know if it's me, my wife, or the kids watching. The decision to show that ad to us is being made based on a digital fingerprint where assumptions are still being made. And those, all we can do is assume, but we nearly always get it wrong as marketers, like when we try to whitewash an audience with something. which is then, if you're going to do Lego Masters, I think you've got two choices. You're going to be entertain and add value to the fact that, with the responsibility you just had of ruining their show, right? Or are you going to kind of play to a specific direct response? And the direct response doesn't have to be commercial, is what I'm getting at. You can take
Value or information.
Let's take it offline.
Yeah.
Let's, if you are interested in finding out how to save 25% of your income at home, your next steps are to come to here or whatever.
Yeah. If you're not, that's okay. We'll leave you alone.
Yeah.
All right, a quick word from one of our sponsors and then we'll get right back to the show. Today's sponsor is, it's me, Tom from Raw Lens. At Raw Lens, we create impactful video and stills content that captivates your community. If you're a business, organization, or individual with a message to share, then let's chat. Book your free Creative Spark session today at rawlensmedia.com. Let's bring your vision to life. Okay, back to me in the show. Now, there's been a tsunami of this thing called AI, but I guess specifically in the search engine world, ChatGPT, Gemini, all of those AI search engines. How has that changed the game? And is SEO dead?
Oh, two big questions. Which one do you want
first? Two big ones,
yeah.
Two big ones. They kind of intertwine.
Well, if SEO is dead, it's the 12th time now in my 25 years in search. So I don't buy it. There was probably one of those 12 times when I was like, oh my God, I need a new job. And I just became an account manager instead. Which, look, it's not dead because intent marketing can never die. What is more likely to be affected by this is above the line marketing, I believe. Like interruption, I class media in three ways. People themselves can only be interrupted. You can align to their interest, or you can engage their intent. There's not. I've been thinking for 12 years if there's a fourth, and I currently can't find one. And so, if that is true, most marketing budgets, if you were to cut them up by interruption marketing, interest, and intent, you'd probably find 80% interruption, 10% interest, 10% intent.
Yep.
When you look at paid media specifically, when you look at owned and earned media, which is like, your SEOs, your content marketing and stuff, it is generally the other way around. But again, the limitation there is quite low. Now, what I like about AI and your GPTs is the fact that the whole GPT experience starts, the clue for marketers is in the question being asked, how can I help you today? And I think where my point previously about asking them and zero party data, the reason we have a GPT these days is because we have been so incessant on avoiding that question for so long that people have had no choice but to do it. Google got pretty damn close with it. Like Google,
well, their page hasn't changed for years.
Exactly. Google hasn't changed. Google hasn't changed in 25 years. Really, the blue links are still there.
Yeah.
But they, instead of saying, how can I help you? Or what are you looking for? Which they technically used to say, we, the population, decided to avoid that and create a new verb called Google. Right. And so I'll Google
what about
that.
Jeeves?
Yeah. And Jeeves, and look, I love Jeeves. I think the fact he was onto something. And unfortunately, if you go to ask.com now, it's a very, very, very sad experience. They've, Ask Jeeves was the epitome of what GPT is today. How can I help you? Yeah. I don't just want the answer so I can peruse myself. I want you to give me the solution. And so, is SEO dead? No, it's intent, not in a sense of intent marketing. Is Google traffic declining? In some niches, yeah. And in some funnel stages, yeah. So really early in the journey, people, instead of trying to find a Reddit article on Google that talks about the similar problem I'm facing, I'm just going straight to GPT to get a 100% unique response.
Do clients want off you? Sorry, I'll rephrase that. Do clients want to be in the AI overview now? Is that what they're asking you?
Yeah, I'd say that was probably in the last 2 years. That's been huge. And now they want to be in the full conversation that's been had.
And so can you make that happen?
We can. We do. And we do that thanks to the fact that we've had an LLM in our business for nearly 4 years already, where we've been thinking more about those clusters and those behaviors that we see being exchanged. So again, how we're using that information is to try and find smaller conversations and then check the share of voice, I guess, or share of response of brand inclusion. Now, some of our clients are getting featured, some of them are not. Some of them are banging their head and taking it personally, going, "Why am I not in that list?" I think only yesterday, there's a client who's killing it on every single non-brand search you can imagine in a niche in Google, and it's location based. And then when you ask that same question in GPT, not there.
Why?
Are they relevant? Are they too intense? Are they answering the question well enough for the GPT to connect the dots? And I think the sooner we as marketers realize that GPT is there to connect multiple dots in the same way your brain does, and especially neurospicy people, like they're brilliant at connecting dots and seeing what we didn't see. That is what we are asking for with GPT.
We don't know, well, correct me if I'm wrong, we don't know what the questions are being asked in ChatGPT?
Not yet.
We don't.
Not yet.
Yeah.
So there's two things on that. Number one, should we know?
Yeah. No.
No, maybe.
No.
Like we do in Google.
I think it would be dangerous.
It could be dangerous, but the same question, I mean, what people are willing to share in AI is dangerous. I think those same questions have been asked of Google for many, many years. You've only got to go into Search Planner and have a question like, what, why, how, why, when. You'll see how many different questions have been asked. I don't see any harm in those questions being asked in AI, but I think people, I don't know if you've ever read the book The Dice Man, but a man who basically rolls a dice to make every decision and basically outsources his own inner criticality and decision making. The real worry for me is that people won't be able to think critically anymore. And they won't be able to do that because they're so interested in having that hard work and pain, which I would argue is living, being outsourced to them with AI.
A lot of people use AI as their psychologist.
Yeah, very risky.
Telling their deepest and darkest secrets there and having that conversation.
But did you know the very first chatbot ever made was in 1981?
Right.
Ever. And it was on a DOS computer and it was a psychology bot.
Right.
And do you know what it did?
Took all that information and exploited it? No.
It just asked you the same question back to you.
Right.
Why do you feel like that, Tom?
People love that, though.
Again and again. And that kind of approach, that's like 5 Whys kind of Simon Sinek stuff, right? Where like eventually you will get the answer. You'll realize it's because you didn't maintain your car, why it won't start today. I think AI will eat Google's lunch, particularly on the no-click search results. So, question and answer based content about how something, does something include something, or how long is a piece of string? Those kind of keywords will be eaten up by AI. Whether the full marketing process goes to it, I think Google will still have a market share. Google is still growing in many areas, but AI is growing as well. And together, if you add them together, intent marketing is so hot right now. And intent marketing has always been about the democratization of power and giving it to the people so that they can make their own decisions. Now, what I was trying to get at earlier was that we technically always had this power in Google. What we didn't have was a behavioral kind of shift in asking the right question and a behavioral shift as marketers of knowing that there are just people who will make this decision themselves. There's an element of helplessness or greed that drives the need to want to buy my attention in the hope that I will buy your product. And so I think marketers who will do well here is the ones that will appreciate that the universe is just doing its thing. You are going to have there's a baseline of people out there who want what you sell. Their blockers might be, what symptoms am I suffering from that this product is the solution? And so the more as a marketer and with AI, the more I think about it, the more I realize it's kind of like a hospital, like where the most important person in the hospital technically is the triage nurse. They decide whether you are what category you are. They decide whether you need to whether you need to see a specialist or you just need to get bandaged up. And then the doctor then decides whether they need more data or whether you need drugs. And in some cases, the drugs are paid media, shortcut, but also, if you think about the quiz marketing, that could be more data. But ultimately, the hospital wants to get you out of the system and into post-care, which post-care is like post-purchase, re-engagement, customer lifecycle stuff, right? And so I think, would I be comfortable talking to an AI triage nurse? Yeah, I think I would. Would I like the option to talk to a human? Absolutely.
So what's the opportunity as a marketer? What's the opportunity there? How do we help those with those questions?
Bringing it right back to basics of like, why do you exist? What are your values? And when you put those values to the power of your product, what you get is a large number of granular audiences. If you've got a blue car, stop trying to sell it to people who want a red car.
And that's AI's helping us get to that place?
I think so. And the clients, our enterprise clients who are getting large volumes of traffic, they're still seeing growth every week in AI. And we are way past the Bing search volume share of, when the search wars were happening, and Bing, I think it got to as low as 2%. Google was 98%, and with Windows 11 and, that came back up a little bit, but never really got into double digits. I think Microsoft has finally come back into the sun with GPT, but thankfully it's using all manner of search engines to find that information, which is good. Sorry, what was the question?
The opportunity.
The opportunity.
So it's helping with your philosophy, essentially. The right person, right message, right time.
Yeah.
It can get there. It can help people.
And look, if AI causes the death of Intender, I'll be happy because advertising will be useful. So I'm all good with that. I'm totally cool with it because
that's the holy grail.
It is the holy grail. It's like I'd love there to be a platform where I can go, hey, I want this car and I'm prepared to pay this. I'm here if you want. Here's my money in escrow, ready to go. I'm legit.
Are you prepared to make any predictions of like where we might be in like, I don't know, 3 years?
I think in
it's moving pretty fast.
3 years' time, the share of sales from AI assistance would be up there within the 50 or 60% of journeys. Now, when I say assistance, I mean it was used in the process of making the decision. Now, whether that has a breadcrumb that a marketer can pick up, I don't know. Like the stepping that down a little bit is share of traffic from AI engines, i.e. people who actually did the question and then clicked the source to check it out. I would say if we should be getting 30% of total traffic would be from those. But if AI is really doing its job, there shouldn't be any click. And so that could go one of two ways. It could we get to see, or we see the outcome and
sends you straight there.
Yeah, the age-old saying of a CMO said, I know 50% of my marketing is working, just not which 50. Right, that is probably going to get worse. In terms of the problem's going to get bigger. They're still not going to have that clarity there, I don't think. But the other prediction I would make as well would be that users are going to be harder to convince, and that the creative is going to get more entertainment and culturally aligned. So I would expect brands to do more partnerships with passionate categories like esports, life, and generally, Nike's in trouble at the moment. I don't know if you've seen Nike's share price, but it's like a 5-year low. It's unreal. Like, but why? I think it could be leadership, could be product, could be whatever. But like, you think Nike, you think you can do it, right? And so Nike, and you've only got to look at Red Bull to sort of see that their marketing approach is to align with cultural kind of cultural parts of your life, sports, passion, and things like that as well. So I do think, how is AI going to be part of that? I don't think AI is going to actively suggest you a video to watch. Maybe it will. But I do think the other prediction that I wanted to share as well is that there will be a paid offering and there will be query data. There is no way in There's no way in hell that Google is going to let the millions of dollars they had for cost per click advertising on high intent audiences go to waste. Now, Google went after TV dollars a while ago, like 10 years ago now, where you could literally, I think during this purgatory stage, as a planner, you could buy YouTube like you would TV.
Okay.
And that really accelerated the adoption to programmatic buying of video and online video as a whole. But Google took those advertising dollars from the networks, and as a result, we've seen creative ads drop in terms of, production value, entertainment value, lovable value. Like, did I love that ad?
It's almost gone full circle back to my regional TV ad days where this cheap, nasty ads are going up.
Yeah, kind of. But I mean, I wouldn't bag out regional TV. Sometimes they're brilliant. Sometimes you're like, oh yeah, you're just talking to a small audience and you knew it. Well done. Good on you.
Yeah.
But kind of bring it back to kind of, Google's lunch is being eaten by AI, but Google and AI and Reddit and Amazon and eBay, they're all intent search engines, all of them. Now, even YouTube is an intent search engine, but it's algorithm. And again, I love seeing how passionate YouTubers get about playing to the algorithm, but they're kind of playing into the trap still. They're making videos to appease the algorithm, asking me to subscribe to appease the algorithm. Asking me to subscribe in your video is so damn annoying. And again, that is treating that person's attention as a commodity in the same way that you do on TV when you're doing high frequency. I get it. We know. If I like you, I will subscribe. You needn't ask.
Yep. You just brought something up about the going back to the branding thing with Nike. I haven't done any research on this, but I noticed like brands are kind of going back to a nostalgic time.
Totally.
I've
seen the quality of TV ads come back, and I'm like, I feel like we hit a dip about a year ago, and we're back now.
Yeah, it's like going back to that almost that Paul's Milk.
Yeah.
Just that nostalgic feel of like. I think I did see an article on it, like a time. It's speaking to the subconscious of buyers and customers of a time where that was better, a time that was more innocent, maybe. Maybe.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting thing to look out for. I'm like, fuck, everyone's wearing these Adidas shoes, and I've bought them too. It's old school. It's back to a time. I didn't make this on purpose, that decision to buy this shoe on purpose, but maybe that's it. People want that time back in history.
But philosophically, though, I think, again, Google and any search engine and GPT, the reason the person was typing in is to find something, right? But more often than not, they need to just find themselves, right? And I think there is a lot of, when I buy this, I'll be happy behavior. And I think that the pressure that we all feel as a population to get better and stuff like that is still vastly commoditized as well. And as a result, more often than not, when you're buying these things, they aren't really solving that problem that you had in the end. They're just moving it down the line.
When I lived in London, I was a poor backpacker, but I wanted a Range Rover for some reason. There were billboards, and I'm seeing people dress a certain way and wear certain shoes and drive fancy cars. It was everywhere around me. Like, it took me to go to Morocco, I think, traveling. I'm like, why did I feel like a Range Rover? Why did I want that car? Like, that's not me. But yeah.
But when you've been purchasing the status that you think you wanted, right?
Yeah.
And that's
the ugly side.
I think as like the 23-year-old in me is like, hell yeah, I want one too. Like, totally. The 38-year-old in me is now, the one thing I want now is peace and to feel that I am enough and that I have enough, which is a marketer's nightmare, but it's also not. It means I'm a bit more considered in what I'm doing and why I'm doing something. Like, I recently bought my childhood dream car, and I shouldn't have, and I won't tell you what it is, because when I got it, I did feel good, but I'm not that good. It then also blew up on me driving it back from Melbourne.
Literally or metaphorically?
Literally blew up. It's okay. And then I fixed it, and then it happened again. And I'm like, whoa, I've just done something for myself selfishly. Maybe I shouldn't be doing that.
Why do you think you bought the car?
again, I think I bought the car to have an element of success, but I already had it. I didn't need to buy the car to do that. And geez, it's fun, and it's fine. But what was I really buying there? I wasn't buying a car. And it brings me back to and as people who know me well know I say this a lot, so apologies. But what does a florist sell?
Joy.
Yeah, not just flowers, right? Hope and appreciation.
Yeah.
And so GPT and AI, if they know me well enough and are really on my side, which is another question mark in itself, then they would know that maybe I don't need to be a consumer at all. I might probably need to stop consuming. Now, I think where I really hope it goes, if I could wave a magic wand on it, is I want my AI people to talk to your AI people, brand, and they have a conversation on my behalf. Because I do believe at the moment GPT is there for us, and brands are like, no, well, I want in. But there is still, there's this thought I've been playing with lately that B2C is dead. Not SEO, not marketing, but businesses to consumer marketing should hopefully rest in peace. It's been with us for a long time.
Meaning that the consumer should just go to the business.
Consumer to business is what I think it will be.
Yeah.
And that's probably the biggest that's where I hope it gets, because we're the ones with the power, right? As consumers, they want our wallet, they want our money, and they want our subscription these days, right? And
I recently, sorry, I'm just like starting to question why I buy things. I recently bought an electric bike. It wasn't for status because
you're not doing wheelies.
Well, people look like dickheads on e-bikes, so I'm aware that I look like a dickhead on an e-bike most of the time. But I bought it for joy, and it's giving me that joy, and you could call it peace, whatever you want to call it. But it's definitely ticking that box, and I'm glad I made the purchase. I think it's awesome. But I'm trying to think of the marketing to me, and I started to get fed all the different e-bike brands, and they all look very similar. And I did all my research, and they all kind of have the same features, give or take. And I'm like, so I had to go to the shop, and I just went to the shop and spoke to a human, and he said, oh, look, he was just real. He just said, I've got this one, but you know what? I want to sell it and get this one, and this is why. And that was enough for me. And is that consumer to buyer? Did I make that? Do you think?
I think so. I think so. I think
that was a nice interaction and a nice purchase, and it brought me joy. And
I'd say it was one-to-one marketing. It was a conversation, like business to consumers is what it should be. It's not even consumer. If it was consumer, brilliant. It sounds like a one-to-one conversation.
Yeah,
but that's definitely not how it comes across, right? And so I think that one-to-many mentality is still what we all want, but maybe it's the many-to-one. It's like if there was, and again, I wouldn't say it's a passion project, it's a dream. I've already got a brand in mind for it, but like it would be lovely to have a space where you could go to just express your intent and commitment to a thing where they come to you. And that's why I kind of think that my AI people will go to your AI people and they'll work it out and then say, actually, here you go. And they might do that brand, it's almost like having a tender process for my business.
Yeah, sure.
Which, as an agency.
Is that like, do you qualify?
Well, yeah, it could be that like, the AI, let's just call my AI Sharon. Shaz goes, yeah, Phil's not interested in that. You're not going to have his time. You've got to talk to him at 4:00 on a Thursday.
Yeah.
And bring beer. He'll have that. Right. You know what I mean? Or bring cake.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I hope we get to. And because that would save the brand so much money, time, and effort, because they're like, he will buy if you do this. And I think that if you do this bit is what's been missed in marketing. And I hope AI can do that for us and just cut the bullshit and go through that. If AI knows me well enough, it knows that I do want a 7-seat, but I'm not driving anything with sliding doors.
Yeah.
Right? Because I don't want that stigma approach on me, and I still want to be able to go up to the beach, right, in the car. But like when I'm an SUV intender, the advertisers don't know that. No one's asked me. I think when when I knew I was really on the right path was at Mindshare, when I convinced Land Rover Australia to make some new landing pages, and I really stuck my neck out on it. I wasn't paid more. I wasn't on target or anything like that. There was nothing in it for me other than making the experience better. And I convinced them to make 4 landing pages, one called Luxury SUV, one called Off-Road SUV, one called 7-seat SUV, and I forget the other one, but there was one more. No other car brand had ever made a landing page like that at that stage. And while I was in there with Land Rover, I was like, screw it, I'll do it with Ford as well. And I'm convinced those 2 brands to make /SUV, /small car, and put their small cars and their SUVs on a page. And within, I think, 2 weeks, because, the strength of those brands, they were outranking drive.com.au, carsales.com.au, just because they thought people first, right?
And people for the car.
And the impact of doing that meant that we could take money out of the display budget and things like that as well, and make more pages and like now we had an ad campaign in Google Ads that was just targeting the word 7C SUV, and it was going to the right page. And on that page, there was 5 vehicles that had 7 seats. Many consumers have been like, oh shit, I didn't realize that one had 7 seats as well. That Range Rover Vogue, which I don't think does have, I think it has 5 seats.
Had other options. They were in the right place.
Yeah, they're in the right place, right? And then suddenly, instead of having to land on the homepage and see the jazz hands, it's like, no, this is what we got, mate.
Yeah. How cool.
And so that very quickly got validated. The thing I love about marketing in Australia with large enterprise brands is that more often than not, we forget that we're a test market here. We've got the perfect sized audience to be able to make some real big changes. And Ford and Land Rover within months had rolled that out globally, and then all the other brands saw it, and all the SEOs in the world jumped on it, and then the playing field got leveled again.
Yeah,
which is kind of cool, because I think when watching how people used to search 25 years ago versus how they search now, is fascinating. People ask the right questions now, and we are ready to ask those questions of GPT now.
In the marketing world, can you still be first like you were in that situation? Like, is there a way to be first still with those ideas and those techniques?
Yeah, every day I'm still trying to understand what people want, compare it to what the brand's doing, and then fill in the gap. Now, where it becomes tension, where the tension comes is some clients want a transactional relationship with us, which might work and get them so far, but that's just throwing money at them.
What do you mean by that? There's we got this much money, like just
make us 5 blog posts a month. We don't care what they are, just do it. All right. And that's fine. We can, and we do. But then you've got another client over here who wants to go on the journey of change. Now, I think SEO and GPT is not something you do to our website. It's something you do with a business, right? And search has always given people the ability to find what they were looking for. And conversely, what brands were doing in SEO is let's give everything they could look for, in the hope that they just keep seeing us, and then they live the lie.
Yeah.
When like customer fit, market fit, product fit, that's what I hope AI leans into a bit more.
Yeah. Because
we need that. We need that context to be used instead of commoditized.
What's next for Phil? What's next for Intender? Or where do you want to go? Do you want to be speaking in front of millions of people, educating them?
Definitely not with 3 young kids at this stage. Definitely father and Phil first at the moment. So I'm quite enjoying a new chapter in my life where it's definitely a bit more calmer there. But also doing quite a lot of innovation. So I'm in pretty much a full-time innovation role at Intender now, which involves me kind of getting out there, building tech. We've got 4 pieces of tech on the go at the moment. I'm really enjoying MVP coding and vibe coding from an AI perspective. My daughter and I, my 4-year-old daughter Tilly, me and her made a website called don'tknowwhattodo.com.
Your 4-year-old made a website with you.
She was the creative director. She knew what the pain was, that people didn't know what to do on a rainy day. So we made a little 1-page app with no advertising tracking on it, and there never will be advertising on it, just to sort of help people and parents know what they could do today based on no budget, some budget, a lot of budget, whether Just press the button. It's great.
Cool.
So more things like that are quite fun.
What's that called?
Don'tknowwhattodo.com. The reason it's long is Tilly's idea.
That's a good domain name.
It's a brilliant domain. She then also bought don'tknowwheretogo.com. So we may do the same with something like that there.
Great domains. She's onto something.
I think she is. And so, yeah, should that be a lot of innovation, a lot of direction, more speaking, more sharing, and yeah. What about you?
This is not about me. What's your advice to 14-year-old Phil, the one who was building websites at the start?
Sounds like therapy. I love it. Advice to 14-year-old Phil was I guess there's nothing I would really give to them at the moment other than just be a bit more awareness, a bit more awareness and presence in this life, really. I think it's hard to, it's very easy to get distracted with what you think you want. You know, you think you wanted the e-bike. I think you're trying to justify your e-bike. It sounds like it's exactly what you needed. I don't think you should even worry about what anyone thinks. It's not like, you know, can you ask the question again? Sorry.
Your advice to 14-year-old Phil.
Yeah. So my advice to 14-year-old Phil, just hang on tight and stay true to your values, I think.
Yeah.
I think back then I'd realized that it was about people. And guess what? It's still about people. It's still about people wanting something.
Yeah.
And just because you're a brand doesn't mean you have to be involved.
Yeah.
Like imagine being at the dinner table with brands instead of people.
Yeah.
Imagine what those conversations would be like.
Yeah. I don't know. What would I ask Nike?
No, Nike wouldn't ask you anything. They would just tell you about them. That's the point. Everyone would just be talking about themselves and there would be no dialogue.
Yes. Right.
So I think with GPT and things like that coming now, I think having a conversation with it and being okay with that and the time it takes is probably what I would be saying to him there. I'd tell him also to buy some lottery tickets and whatnot. But
thank you so much for your time today, Phil. And I love your philosophy is so deep in like just empathy and service.
Thanks, man.
You can tell it's about the numbers. You know how to read those, but it's so much about just service and helping people with a problem.
Yeah. Thank you, mate.
And helping to solve that. So I love that. Last question. This is where I like to wrap things up. And you already sort of touched on it earlier, which was funny. Where is Phil at most peace?
I would say in the garden. Garden is cheaper than therapy. So it's like definitely at peace there and love watching things grow.
That works well.
Both people, brands.
And plants.
It's great. Yeah. Thank you, mate. Cheers.
Awesome. Hey, everyone. Thanks for watching the show. This podcast is truly a passion project for me and the small but awesome team behind the scenes. We pour our hearts into bringing you these honest and insightful conversations. But I can't tell you how much it helps when you hit that follow or subscribe button. The show gets bigger, which means we can expand the production and we can continue to bring in amazing guests from all walks of life. Please help us to do this thing that we love and hit that follow or subscribe button. We appreciate you being here. Thank you.